Emily and Daniel had been together for 5 years, building a life in Chicago. Their relationship was filled with shared dreams and mutual support. They had met at a charity fundraiser where Daniel, with his charming smile and confident demeanor, had immediately caught Emily's attention. He was an up-and-coming marketing executive who spoke passionately about his ambitions. Emily, a dedicated kindergarten teacher, had been drawn to his drive and the warmth that seemed to radiate from him. Their first years together had been a fairy tale. Daniel surprised Emily with weekend getaways to Lake Michigan, thoughtful gifts on random Tuesdays, and heartfelt notes hidden in her lunch bag. They moved in together after 2 years, finding a cozy apartment in Lincoln Park with a view of the skyline that took Emily's breath away. Together, they painted the walls, assembled IKEA furniture, and argued good-naturedly about where to hang their photos. Daniel always gave in, letting Emily have the final say on decorating decisions. When Emily discovered she was pregnant, it felt like the culmination of their love. The little blue line on the pregnancy test had appeared just as they were discussing marriage. Daniel had hugged her tightly, whispering how happy he was about their growing family. They spent that evening on their small balcony, sipping herbal tea and talking about names, nursery themes, and the type of parents they wanted to be. "I'm thinking we should convert the guest room into a nursery," Daniel had suggested, his eyes bright with excitement. "We can paint it yellow or green, something gender-neutral and bright." Emily had nodded, her hand resting on her still flat stomach. "I can already picture you reading bedtime stories in a rocking chair by the window." But as weeks passed, Emily noticed Daniel becoming increasingly distant. He started working later hours, claiming a new project needed his attention. Their dinner conversations grew shorter, with Daniel checking his phone constantly. When Emily would share her excitement about the baby's development, "The app says our baby is the size of a blueberry this week." Daniel would smile weakly and change the subject. One evening, as Emily prepared a special dinner to celebrate the end of her first trimester, Daniel called to say he wouldn't be home until after midnight. "A client emergency," he explained vaguely. Emily sat alone at their candlelit table, pushing food around her plate and trying to ignore the hollow feeling in her chest. She told herself it was normal, that Daniel was adjusting to the idea of fatherhood in his own way. "He's probably just stressed about providing for us," Emily confided to her sister, Rachel, who had noticed the changes in Daniel's behavior during a weekend visit. "A baby changes everything, and he's always been so career-focused." Rachel's expression had been skeptical. "Just make sure he's actually at work during these late nights, Em." Emily had dismissed her sister's concern, loyal to Daniel despite the growing uneasiness she felt whenever he pulled away from her touch or diverted conversations about their future. At her 16-week appointment, Emily learned they were having a boy. She texted Daniel immediately, attaching the sonogram image that clearly showed their son's profile. His response came hours later, a simple, "Great news," followed by an excuse about being stuck in meetings all day. That night, when Daniel finally came home, his collar carried a faint scent that wasn't his usual cologne. Emily pretended not to notice. As her belly grew, so did the distance between them. Daniel started spending weekends at team-building retreats and claimed his new promotion required occasional overnight stays in Milwaukee to meet with important clients. Emily kept their home running, attended birthing classes alone, and began preparing the nursery by herself, hoping that once the baby arrived, Daniel would reconnect with their relationship. One evening, while Daniel was in the shower, his phone buzzed with a message from a coworker named Lisa. Emily had never met Lisa but had heard her name mentioned occasionally in Daniel's work stories. The message preview on the screen read, "Can't wait to see you again. Last night was amazing." Emily's heart sank as she picked up the phone, her hands trembling. She opened the message thread and found months of exchanges, intimate photos, plans for secret meetings, declarations of feelings that made Emily physically ill. There were messages from times when Daniel had claimed to be working late, proof that he had been with Lisa instead. Even worse were messages from the weekend of Emily's baby shower, which Daniel had missed due to an emergency conference in New York. When Daniel emerged from the bathroom, Emily was sitting on the edge of their bed, his phone in her hands, tears streaming down her face. "How long?" she asked, her voice barely audible. Daniel's face drained of color. "Emily, I can explain. It's not what you think." "How long?" Each word felt like glass in her throat. Daniel's shoulders slumped as he realized there was no way out. 7 months, he admitted. "But it doesn't mean anything. Lisa is just 7 months." Emily interrupted, the timeline becoming clear. "It started right after I told you I was pregnant." Daniel knelt before her, reaching for her hands. She pulled away, his touch suddenly repulsive. "It was a mistake, Em. I got scared about the baby, about being tied down. I had a moment of weakness that turned into something I couldn't control." "Something you couldn't control," Emily repeated, her shock giving way to anger. "For 7 months. While I was carrying your child. While I was picking out cribs and onesies and imagining our life together. I'll end it with her," Daniel promised desperately. "I'll quit my job if I have to. Please, Emily. I love you. I love our son." Emily stood, one hand supporting her back, the other protectively covering her belly. "You've had 7 months to make that choice, Daniel. 7 months of lying to my face while building a relationship with someone else." That night, Emily slept in the nursery, curled up in the glider chair she had chosen with such care. She spent hours scrolling through their photos, searching for signs she had missed, moments when Daniel might have been thinking of Lisa instead of her. The betrayal cut deeper with each revelation: birthday dinners when he had been distracted, weekends away when his mind seemed elsewhere, intimate moments that now felt performative. In the morning, Daniel tried again, presenting her with a small velvet box containing an engagement ring. "I've had this for months," he claimed. "I was waiting for the right time. I want us to be a real family." Emily studied the ring, a simple solitaire that looked hastily chosen. "When did you buy this?" Daniel hesitated, and Emily knew. "You bought it this morning, didn't you?" "After I found out." The truth was written on his face. Emily placed the box on the kitchen counter and began gathering essential items: her prenatal vitamins, a change of clothes, her laptop. "I'm going to stay with Rachel for a few days. I need space to think." At Rachel's apartment in Evanston, Emily finally allowed herself to fall apart. Between sobs, she shared everything with her sister: the messages, Daniel's excuses, the last-ditch proposal attempt. "You deserve better than this," Rachel said firmly, bringing Emily a cup of ginger tea. "Both you and your son deserve better." Emily spent the next week in a fog of grief and anger. Daniel called constantly, leaving voicemails that ranged from apologetic to accusatory. "I made a mistake, but you're being unreasonable," he said in one message. "You're punishing our son by keeping his father away." The manipulation in his words cleared Emily's mind somewhat. She realized how often Daniel had twisted situations to make her feel responsible for his behavior. How many times had she apologized for being too emotional during her pregnancy when expressing legitimate concerns about his absence? Seeking clarity, Emily reached out to a counselor who specialized in relationship issues. Dr. Martinez, a compassionate woman with decades of experience, helped Emily see the patterns of emotional manipulation that had become normalized in her relationship with Daniel. "He was having an affair the entire time I was pregnant," Emily said during one session. "But somehow I feel guilty for not giving him another chance." "That's because he's conditioned you to prioritize his needs above your own," Dr. Martinez explained. "Think about your son. What kind of relationship example do you want to set for him?" Through therapy, Emily realized the importance of self-worth and the need for a supportive environment for her unborn child. She began to envision a life without Daniel, challenging, certainly, but free from the constant anxiety of wondering whether he was being truthful. Lisa contacted Emily unexpectedly, sending a message through social media. "I think we should talk. There are things you should know." Against Rachel's advice, Emily agreed to meet Lisa at a quiet cafe near Northwestern University. Lisa was younger than Emily had imagined, maybe mid-20s, with a polished appearance that spoke of careful self-presentation. "I didn't know you were pregnant when things started with Daniel," Lisa began, stirring her latte nervously. "He told me his relationship was essentially over, that you were just roommates staying together for financial reasons." Emily felt a fresh wave of pain. "When did you find out the truth?" Lisa looked down. "About 3 months ago. I saw a photo of you on his colleague's social media. He had cropped you out of all the pictures he showed me." She paused. "He told me the baby wasn't his." The revelation hit Emily like a physical blow. Daniel hadn't just betrayed her with his actions, he had actively worked to erase her from his narrative, to deny his own child. "There's more," Lisa continued, sliding her phone across the table. "You're not the only one he's been lying to." The screen showed messages between Daniel and another woman named Jennifer, romantic exchanges that overlapped with both Emily's relationship and his affair with Lisa. Emily felt oddly calm as she read through them, as if she had reached her capacity for shock. "Why are you showing me this?" Emily asked. "Because I realized what kind of person he is," Lisa replied. "And because I'm sorry. You deserve to know everything before you make any decisions about your future." Armed with irrefutable evidence of Daniel's character, Emily returned to their apartment with Rachel and 2 of her brother's friends to collect the rest of her belongings. Daniel wasn't there, a small mercy. She took only what was undeniably hers, leaving furniture and appliances they had purchased together. The nursery items were hardest to leave behind, each carefully chosen piece representing dreams that now felt naive. Despite Daniel's pleas, Emily decided to end the relationship permanently. She moved to Naperville, a suburb about 30 miles from Chicago, to be closer to her parents. They had immediately offered their support, helping her find an affordable 1-bedroom apartment and transforming the living room alcove into a cozy nursery space. Emily's father, a retired attorney, helped her navigate the legal aspects of her situation. "You need to establish paternity and get child support arrangements in place before the baby arrives," he advised. "Daniel may be a terrible partner, but he has financial obligations to his child." The legal proceedings revealed yet more of Daniel's character. He contested paternity despite earlier acknowledgments, forcing Emily to undergo testing. He claimed financial hardship despite his recent promotion. When the test confirmed he was indeed the father, his lawyer proposed a custody arrangement that would give him weekend visitation, the same weekends he had typically spent with Lisa. "He doesn't actually want to be involved," Emily realized during a conversation with her attorney. "He just wants to control the situation and punish me for leaving." As her due date approached, Emily focused on creating a positive environment for her son. She found a part-time teaching position at a Naperville elementary school, decorated the nursery corner with a woodland theme, and attended centering classes that helped her connect with her baby. During quiet evenings, she would talk to her unborn son, promising him stability and love despite the circumstances. "We're going to be okay," she whispered, feeling his kicks against her palm. "You and me, we're a team." Daniel's presence in her life diminished to text messages about legal matters and occasional demands to be kept in the loop about the pregnancy. Emily responded with brief, factual updates, determined to maintain boundaries while acknowledging his legal right to information. In late August, Emily went into labor 3 weeks early. Her mother drove her to the hospital while her father called Daniel, fulfilling Emily's obligation to notify him. Daniel arrived hours later, smelling faintly of alcohol and demanding to be present for the birth. "That's not your decision," the labor and delivery nurse informed him when Emily expressed her wishes for privacy. "You can wait in the family area." After 18 hours of labor, Emily gave birth to a healthy baby boy whom she named Nathan James, after her grandfather. He had a full head of dark hair and Emily's green eyes. Holding him to her chest, Emily felt a love so powerful it eclipsed all the pain of the previous months. Daniel visited the next day, awkwardly holding the newborn while complaining about the hospital parking situation. He stayed for 20 minutes, took a few photos, and left with vague promises to get everything sorted out soon. With the unwavering support of her family and friends, Emily embraced single motherhood, determined to provide a loving and stable environment for Nathan. Her parents helped with childcare when she returned to teaching. Rachel visited every weekend, bringing groceries and giving Emily breaks to shower or nap. Colleagues from her school organized meal trains and baby supply donations. Daniel's involvement remained superficial. He occasionally appeared for the court-mandated visits but often cancelled at the last minute. Child support payments were consistently late, requiring Emily's attorney to file motions for enforcement. When he did take Nathan, he pawned most of the actual caregiving off on his mother or, as Emily later discovered, on Lisa, who had somehow remained in the picture despite learning of his duplicity. As Nathan's first birthday approached, Emily reflected on the journey of the past year. The betrayal still stung when she allowed herself to dwell on it, but those moments had become increasingly rare. Her focus had shifted entirely to her son, whose cheerful personality and resilient spirit amazed her daily. The birthday party was small but joyful: grandparents, aunts, uncles, and a few friends from Emily's Mommy and Me group. Daniel had been invited as a courtesy but sent a text that morning saying he couldn't make it due to work commitments. His gift arrived by mail 3 days later, an expensive toy clearly chosen without consideration for Nathan's interests or developmental stage. That evening, after the guests had left and Nathan was asleep, Emily sat on her small balcony with a glass of wine. Her phone pinged with a message from an unfamiliar number. It was Jennifer, the other woman from Lisa's messages, who had finally pieced together the extent of Daniel's deceptions. "I thought you should know he's engaged," the message read. "To someone new. A woman named Melissa he met 2 months ago. She doesn't know about any of us." Emily stared at the message for a long time, surprised by her own lack of surprise. Something about this final piece of information brought clarity rather than pain. Daniel would continue his pattern, moving from relationship to relationship, creating chaos and hurt in his wake. For a brief moment, Emily considered reaching out to warn this unknown woman about the man she had agreed to marry. Instead, she put down her phone and looked up at the stars visible through the light pollution of the suburbs. Nathan was safe. She was healing. Whatever damage Daniel caused in his future relationships was not her responsibility to prevent or repair. As she drifted to sleep that night, Emily felt a weight lifting from her shoulders. The story of her relationship with Daniel, the love, the betrayal, the heartbreak, was just one chapter in her life, not the entire book. The next chapters belonged to her and Nathan, and she was finally ready to turn the page.